Good morning and welcome to the Daily Cyber Briefing for Tuesday the 17th of June. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Zytel devices are under attack as a new UDP port RCE flaw is being exploited. That was a more complicated sentence to say than I anticipated. There we go. So basically, the vulnerability is CVE 2023-28771. It's a command injection vulnerability, remote code execution vulnerability with a CVSS version 3.1 score of 9.8, which makes it critical. The vulnerability was first spotted, or the attacks were first spotted on June the 16th. Presumably the vulnerability has been known about for a little bit beyond that, certainly within certain circles. And there has been a very rapid increase in the number of detected attacks against this particular vulnerability. The recommendations are basically patch immediately. That makes sense. I agree with that. All devices can be updated to the latest firmware, and the firmware does address this particular vulnerability. They then talk in this particular article on GB Hackers about blocking malicious IP addresses. Well, good luck. What constitutes a malicious IP address in the world of, certainly in the world of cloud based services? IP addresses are getting reused all the time, so that may be easier said than done. They also talk then about restricting UDP port 500 exposure. So UDP port 500 is commonly used for IKE, so it's part of the VPN setup protocols. If you don't need to have that particular port open to the world, you shouldn't. I mean, that is a good recommendation anyway, that if you have the ability to restrict what ports you open to the world, the more restricted and more limited your attack surface would be. Obviously, monitor for anomalies and review device exposure. Well, okay, some of those recommendations are better than others, but I would say the most important one is patch immediately. These things are under attack. Although the vulnerability has been known for quite a while. I mean, it's got a CVE of 2023. The actual vulnerability has been known for a while. The fact that the Zytel devices may be vulnerable to it, I suspect, has not been that well known for that long. Attacks are being seen in the US, UK, Spain, Germany, and India, which probably means there are all sorts of other places as well. They just haven't hit the news yet. So definitely take this one seriously if you're using Zytel firewalls or VPN devices, because you are going to be targeted imminently, if not have already been targeted and compromised. So there's an Apache Tomcat flaw that allows for authentication bypass and denial of service attacks. Combination of 4 vulnerabilities that have hit the headlines here. So CVEs 2025 48976, 48988, 49124, and 49125. Varying severities. However, because they're all in the same arena, they are worth thinking about. The flaws affect Tomcat versions 9.0, 10.1, and 11.0. So if you, Obviously, if you are using Tomcat, Tomcat being, of course, very common, probably the world's most common open source Java environment for websites. So if you are using it, definitely have a look to see how you can get patched ASAP. In the meantime, if you want to have more detailed analysis, there's an article in GB Hackers, which we will link to the briefing, which sets out in some reasonable level of detail what's actually going on here. You may be able to build mitigating controls based on that information if you are not able to address these vulnerabilities head on right now. Okay, on other matters, the Scattered Spider, which isn't really a team, loose affiliation of criminals, that has been responsible for targeting retail organisations in the UK and the US. Think M&S in the UK. They appear to be moving sectors and are currently targeting US insurance companies. So it's just a quick heads up. If you are in retail, don't make the assumption that the focus has moved away from you, therefore you can get away with not doing very much. Definitely, if you've seen the disruption to business caused by the M&S attack or Co-op or Harrods or whoever, definitely take this stuff seriously. Make sure you've got some controls in place that would at the very least spot the attacks and give you the opportunity to do something about them. If you're in the insurance industry, be aware that the insurance industry is now a focus for this particular group. So those things that have been learnt through studying attacks in the retail space are definitely worth being aware of if you are looking to protect organizations in the insurance space, so you can learn from that. But be aware, you will be being targeted by this particular group. Yes, but they've been spotted doing this in the US. Fair bet that the UK insurance industries will also be targeted, if not already, but relatively rapidly. You've got to bear in mind that even though there are no reports of targeting UK insurance companies at the moment, that is likely to be an artifact of what's being reported rather than what's being attacked. And then finally from me, I came across a good article, a very interesting article from HelpNet Security that highlights something that we all kind of forget about. When we're looking at cyber risk and what we can do about cyber risk, people in the industry, both in what we would see as customer organizations and what we, as we are part of the vendor environment, tend to focus on risks in cloud platforms or risks on laptops and data centers, and have we patched things, and what the more technical risk based on the footprint and the threat landscape that there is at that particular time in that organization. Well, now bearing in mind that risk is a product of likelihood and impact, a fair amount of the time we are looking to minimize impact by things like good architecture, using strong encryption, so on and so forth. So if an attack is thrown at something, it won't be successful, so the impact will be lower. Sometimes you need to think about the likelihood of attack, and that can be conceptually more difficult to work with as a concept. Yeah, conceptually concept, yeah, obviously. What is being pointed out in this HelpNet security article is that hackers love events. Okay. So why do hackers love events, and what does this mean? Well, it basically means if your organization is known to be attending an event, and bearing in mind that yes, events go on all the time, but we are in that part of the year where there are, for the next few months, there are a lot of expos and other events that organizations may be attending, or may have stands at, or whatever it may be. That's a target rich environment for hackers. So you've got your organization connected to temporary networks. There's a lot of travel with laptops and phones that may not be as well protected as they normally would be. There are public schedules, so we know when people are speaking, we know what session topics they're going to be. All sorts of interesting information that can be used in phishing campaigns. And there may well be new or untested tech floating around in the event. Think NFC badges, QR codes, kiosks, all these sorts of things. This makes the event environment highly attractive to attackers. I don't think that many CISOs, or in fact many organizations, are aware of the fact that they may be the likelihood of attack may be much greater during an event than it would be under normal workings. So it's something interesting to think about. Would definitely recommend having a read of the article if you're planning on attending an event, or if you're planning on actually exhibiting at an event. This gives you definitely some stuff to think about. How are you going to protect your people and your stuff in these environments? Oh yeah, another risk, by the way, in this space is USB drives. USB drive plugging things in has come back to. I remember this from donkeys years ago. Most malware being spread by plugging stuff in the days when the internet wasn't the primary source of transmitting nasties. Well, it's kind of back. You think about it. If you go to events, not only cyber events, at least people are thinking about thinking about security mostly in cyber events. But if you're going to other events, people give away USB sticks with promotional material on, don't they? If you're receiving one of those, how do you know that it's not got malware on it? Well, you don't until you've plugged it into something and checked it. So just be aware that these. Oh, here, have a USB stick, or have a tote bag full of brochures and a lolly and a USB stick. Just be very careful with some of these things. Just think. Because it is what would be seen as a target-rich environment by attackers. Okay, that's all from me for today. I hope you have a good Tuesday, and I'll speak to you all again tomorrow morning.